Hello. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. I am super excited to be live today. Just finishing up and getting things clear here and ready to go. Alrighty. Feel like we're getting a little bit better at this. So I am Jackie Green. I am the CEO and founder of Behind the Design. And at Behind the Design, we help small business owners build their businesses and generate more revenue. And we do this through marketing services, AI consulting, and education. And so today we're going to talk about organic social media versus paid social media and why you need both of them to be successful in your social media marketing. And I think this is really important because a lot of us small business owners are really challenged with trying to get our brand out there, build that brand, and to be seen by our ideal clients. And right now, it really feels like there's just so much clutter out there that we're really kind of struggling to find our place and really wondering if the marketing and the social media that we're doing is working. Is that, are we putting all this effort into it and is it working? So, if you are feeling the exact same way of, okay, I'm told to be consistent, I'm told I'm supposed to do it this many times, blah, blah, blah. Is this really working? Is it worth my time? That's what we're going to talk about today. And the stats are really showing that organic has really declined from a reach standpoint and an engagement standpoint. Now, Facebook and Instagram still seem to be the big social platforms. However, we're seeing on Facebook only about 5.2% of followers are actually seeing the organic posts. And when we start looking at engagement, that is actually quite a bit lower in percentages. So Instagram is looking at organic reach about 4%, and Facebook, I saw another study that said it was 2.6. I've seen one that says 5.2%. So when we talk about reach versus engagement, reach is how many people is that showing up for? So those kind of are your impressions. Impressions and reach in this case are very similar. That's reaching of your followers anywhere from 4 to 5.2% of them are actually seeing your organic social posts. Whereas engagement's a little bit different, how many people actually interact with that post, which is ideally what you want them to do. So you want the whole point of social media is to start engaging, build a community, and really start interacting with your audience. And so we see those engagement numbers are really, really low. Instagram, it's 0.7 percent. Facebook, it's 0.15%. Now, interestingly, TikTok actually has an engagement rate of 2.65%. I do think, though, with TikTok, it is a newer medium, and so we are seeing a lot more interaction with that. But it also could be the type of content that's out there. Now, interesting though, 73% of marketers surveyed are saying, yeah, we're fairly somewhat find social media marketing somewhat effective or very effective. So it is interesting to see that even though a lot of us are questioning whether social media is working these days or our strategies are working, we still think it's really important from a marketing perspective. Now, so today, what we're going to talk about those challenges that many small business owners are facing when it comes to organic social media. We're also going to talk about the advantages of organic over paid. We're going to talk about what you need to know about the algorithms, how they've changed recently, and strategies to improve your organic posting. Then we're going to get into the paid social media, how it helps in your overall social media marketing strategy. We're going to talk about the return on investment when you are paying and discuss trends with paid ads and key elements that you need to consider. We will wrap up with some strategies to talk about how to boost and wrap up with some tips as well to get you started. So if everybody's ready. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a cute little slide deck. It's just going to be me talking, but hopefully that'll be okay with all of you. So as I mentioned, we have some common challenges for small businesses. Now, I primarily talk about small businesses, and small businesses are actually defined as 1,500 employees or less, and they make up 99 point something percentage of all U.S. businesses, which is, a crazy little statistic. And we're really seeing a limiting reach in social media. We're kind of being outplayed by big brands. Big brands have a lot more influence, a lot more money to spend. This can be really frustrating. On top of all of that, we have just so much clutter and people putting things out. Here in the United States, we also just went through a huge political election, which really impacted how what's showing up in social. I think it impacted small businesses considerably, just being kind of shoved out. We see problems with small businesses being content creation and consistency. So the biggest thing I see from small businesses is, are you being consistent? And then what content is actually working and not working. So it's measuring return on investment, really understanding the effectiveness, and if this is building your brand. And then the other challenge we're having is, building and maintaining that engagement with your audience. So when we talk about organic social media, we are talking organic versus paid. So organic is where you're just putting posts out there, and it's typically educational information, engaging type of content. It could be poll surveys, it could be static posts, carousels, there could be all kinds of different things. And so you put those out, doesn't cost you anything. Where paid is obviously where you have to pay for it to be an ad. They both appear within the feeds of most social posts, but that's kind of different. So that's what organic is. So organic's important because it's a great way to share your non-promotional content, to show your expertise, to build your trust and that credibility with your audience. Of course, it is cost effective in the sense that you're not paying for those placements. However, it does take time and effort, and our own resources is a cost to generate all that content, to measure that content, to determine what is working and what is not working. And although it can be a slow growth strategy, it can lead to stronger relationships and engagement with your audience. And it can be kind of frustrating. I know from my own viewpoint, it is a little bit frustrating because you think something's going to be really great and it doesn't. And unfortunately, most of us never even go viral. We're just kind of puttering along and kind of strengthening what relationships we have. And it is a really good community builder. And when we'll talk about community a little bit more, but community is a big thing right now. It's really looking at how do you build, a community of people within your target audience and bringing them together, and it not just be about you, but it be about all the problems within the community, sharing and connecting with each other and supporting one another. So we'll talk about that as well. Now, the algorithms are always something that everyone kind of rolls their eyes at and go, ugh, dang, algorithms are always changing, and they are always changing. So when I first decided to write or to do this particular topic, I was looking at it and I had noticed that I wasn't seeing in my feeds family and friends anymore. I was seeing big brands. So I was seeing things like People Magazine and all this entertainment stuff, which is zero interest to me. I have no interest whatsoever in what happens in Hollywood. It's just not a thing that I'm interested in. But I was seeing all these big brands, and so I started looking into it. And although like Facebook and Instagram, the Meta who owns them was saying, "Oh, well, yeah, you friends and family content actually has a priority." Here recently, at the beginning of January, they finally admitted that no, we're actually giving you what you're interested in. Ironic, I get stuff I'm not interested in all the time, but they are making assumptions and determining what you might be interested in and showing you that content, which, if you're a small business, is really kind of knocking you out, which is why that reach is so low. And so they've kind of changed that interaction. Now, the number one thing these algorithms are really looking for is engagement. They want to see people engaging with the content, making comments, conversations going back and forth, direct messaging. They want to see that engagement. They also want to keep people on their platforms. So, whereas you want to get them off your platform and onto your email list and maybe onto your website, they actually want you to stay on there. They want to see that you are kind of engaging with them and building that community, but they want it on their own platforms. So there is also an emphasis on original content over reposting other people's content. Now, this is a future kind of thing where it is going to be more about personalization, whether you're using AI or not. They want to show that content is more personalized and really connecting the audiences. Next, I talked about this that the social platforms want people to stay on there longer. Why do they want them to stay on there longer? Well, because then they can send more ads their way, and that's more ad dollars. Because the way the ads work on the social, you're actually paying for those impressions or reach. So the more people that see that ad, the more the advertiser is paying for that ad to be shown. And so that's really important. And then there's also a big push for video. I've talked about this quite a bit in a lot of my blogs and videos. Video is by far the number one thing they're looking for. And there's a lot of benefits to video. So if you're not real comfortable with video, I would suggest, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to get comfortable with video. It's just the way. And it really, video is not that bad. I know it's awkward. It feels weird. This feels weird. I'll be honest with you. But video really allows you to be able to connect with your audience. They see your authenticity. They can really get a feel for who you are. And that's why it's so important. And we all know that people have shorter attention spans in video, especially if you're doing a really good job of telling a story. If you're kind of engaging with them and bringing them into that story, can be really, really effective. So let's talk about some of the strategies that are good for organic. So original content is really important. You want your content to be about an 80-20 mix. So 80% of your content needs to be educational, maybe thought leadership, really sharing who you are, what your business is about, what the brand's about. And then 20% should be promotional. That seems to be the good mix between 80-20. You want your content to be very authentic. You want it to be about you. And you don't want to just post whatever AI splurts out at you. AI is a huge tool. Love it. Completely using it. We do AI consulting for a lot of businesses and really talk about how you can bring AI into your operations. But be really mindful of when you are developing content using AI, you still need to make it your own. It still needs to have your voice. It still needs to tell a story and engage people. You can't just throw it out there. And so with that, it's really important that you put out good content. And you're going to have to test that content to know what's good, what your audiences are reacting to, and so forth. You also want to try a mix of different formats. Some are text, some can be images, videos. You can do static posts, you can do carousels. Carousels are where you have posts that are, multiple posts going through. And you want to make sure that you're telling a story. One of the things right now that's really seems to be doing well is the long form text. I know that sounds kind of weird, but it pulls you in. If someone's telling a story and it's a long story, it just kind of pulls you in and you can't help from reading it. So then you're on that post longer, and the algorithms are checking that out as well. So you want to use different types of format when you're looking at organic. Also, your content should be a mix between education, entertainment, vary those formats. Engage your audience, ask for feedback, ask them what they think, pose questions, put polls out, surveys, make a comment, say, hey, please repost this or share this with other people. You want to try to engage them. So don't be shy about asking your audience to do something, especially when you're giving them value. Then next is responding to that feedback. When someone responds to you, make sure you are also making comments back and thanking them. A big push in the last, I don't know, year or so is user-generated content. And if you're not familiar with user-generated content, that is where your users are posting content about your products or services. Now, this doesn't work for everybody because, in some cases, there's nothing for them to post. But let's say you're an interior designer. You've just designed a space, you've promoted that space, but you also might want to encourage your homeowner, if it's a residential or if it's a business, to also start posting content about their new space and sharing and tagging you in those posts. That's basically generating content. We also see product marketing. It falls into this. Someone wearing the product, someone using the product, talking about the product. That's user generated content. Now, also another note is make sure you optimize your profile. You want to use relevant keywords that someone is searching for. You want to have a compelling bio and optimize that content for search. And then you want to measure, analyze, and adapt accordingly. Not everything's going to hit the mark, and it's important to kind of continuously measure. I talked last week on the live about measuring. I did a very high surface, but if you are really into social media and want to get down to the nitty gritty of it, you can really look at, okay, what posts are performing better than other posts? What content is performing better than other? And once you identify that, then you can start creating more of that type of content. So it is important to kind of look at that. Now, let's talk about paid. So paid is where you're paying. Now, it works similar to Google Ads. You are paying for those impressions or the reach of your ad. So statistically, we're looking at, and social media ad spend is around $219 billion last year. Yeah, that's a big billion. That's a lot. And retargeting ads can increase your conversion by 70%. And video ads get 3 times more engagement than static images. So let's go back to that. Ad spend. We'll talk about that here in a minute and why you need paid social content versus organic. And I think it's really important that you have both if you're really wanting to use social media to your best advantage. Now, retargeting ads is basically where somebody has clicked on a link. Maybe it's a link to your website, but they didn't purchase. And then you retarget them and give them another ad to try to move them into the purchasing. So retargeting can increase your conversions by 70%. And then video, of course, I don't know what it is. People love video, and I'm no different. If you sit there and look at even your own habits, do you stop on the video more so? And it is kind of fun to watch and see what people are saying. And it is part of your brand. So paid advertising is really great for amplifying your brand. It's not magic, but it boosts your visibility. Whereas with organic, it's more about that engagement Paid is more about reaching more people. Once you pull them into your universe, then you can start engaging them with your organic. But the idea is you pull them in. We're seeing an uptake of paid because of the decline in organic. Social marketing is kind of frustrating. It also paid allows you to really target in to your audience and who you're trying to reach. Facebook and Instagram actually have a really good advertising tool that helps you really go in and target the audience you're wanting to reach. And so if you're wanting to increase the number of followers you have, you can use paid ads to do that. And you can really target the people, the industries, local, whatever, to try to pull those people in. So it is good for brand awareness, where organic's more about building that brand loyalty. And then measuring the return on investment. We'll talk about that a little more in a second. But there is a return on that, and it is important to track and measure and making sure that you have that that the ads are working the way you want to. Now, we've used Facebook and Instagram advertising. We aren't currently advertising there because, as I've shared, we got hacked on Facebook and we're still grounded. And, but it was, as far as paid advertising and being able to really kind of find your audience, target that audience, test ads. They have a really good system where you can post up to 6 different ads and it will kind of show it at different times and kind of test and determine which one is pulling better than another one. That's really helpful. So let's look at some of the trends within paid social. Now, we're primarily talking about Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Also, I have some stats around TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube a little bit down below in my outline. So we'll talk about that. Now, what's working? Retargeting ads, as I mentioned, is really helping. So you're warming up previous visitors that have clicked or interacted in some way with your content. Lead generation ads, collecting emails straight from the platform is really important. Video ads, short, engaging, really built for conversions. There's local targeting. This is very hyper local. That seems to be working. So if you're promoting a retail shop, if you're promoting local events, special offers, that seems to do really well. AI powered personalization. So not just general copy and visuals, but machine learning algorithms for optimal use. So I think we're going to see this more and more as we move forward with AI. That is just part of our future and our life. And we're going to see where AI is going to allow us to really target and really try to personalize our interaction with people. And social media is no different. Their social e-commerce is huge. The number, if you sell products, actual products to a consumer, you really do want to consider building your e-commerce on social platforms. That is a growing area within social of people selling things. Micro influencer partnerships. So this is where, as influencers, you partner with another influencer, you offer something meaningful, share some sort of video, you share some sort of educational thing, whatever that is for your audience. That's doing really well right now. And the last thing is a full funnel approach. And so think about it this way. I talk a lot and I've done a lot of videos around the funnel. Remember, we have awareness. People are become aware of your brand. Then it goes down the funnel and maybe they're in the consideration phase where they're starting to consider if they want to buy from you. And then you move into the buying portion. So that's the short of the funnel, but you're essentially moving them down. And at each stage, you want to have marketing tasks or tasks that move them along that funnel until they're actually purchasing. And so it's really important that as you build your ad campaigns within social, that you're thinking through what does that funnel look like? What are you going to serve up first? What are you going to serve up next? And what are you going to serve up after that? In a couple of weeks, I'm actually doing another live around lead magnets and email sequences. And so if you're interested in understanding the funnel, how to set that up, that'll be a really good live that you don't want to miss. Now, what are some of the elements of a successful campaign? You want to be sure that you are defining clear goals. What are you wanting to accomplish? And they need to be realistic. They're goals. If we talk about SMART goals, they absolutely need to be realistic. What can you accomplish with this effort? What do you want to do? What are you wanting people to react? How do you want them to react? What are you trying to accomplish? So really align those, make sure those are aligned with your business goals. Then you need to understand your audience, not only for targeting, but also for the content that you're delivering to them. The more you know about your audience, the more you can deliver information that is important to them, that helps solve their problems, that's a benefit to them. So, understanding who they are, what their pain points are, and how you help them is really important as you develop your ads for your audience. Now, you want to, of course, create compelling messages. You want to use good visuals. Today, everything doesn't have to be perfect by any means, but you do want to put your best foot forward. And so make sure that any ads that any images you're using are clear, they're not pixelated. Nothing drives me more crazy than when I see pixelated ads appearing on social. I'm like, okay, it's not hard to get those correct. Just making sure that the right size and testing. All right, another thing is, consider mixed channel approach. So what you're doing on Facebook, you might use also on Instagram, where you also might use on LinkedIn. You want to think about your brand. Now your brand is, yes, colors and logos. Those things need to be consistent across all platforms, all websites, anything you do advertising wise, but also that message. Making sure that your message is clear, whether somebody is on LinkedIn, whether somebody is on Facebook, making sure that they kind of all connect and that it starts being recognizable in somebody's brain, no matter what platform they're on. Make sure you have a strong call to action. What do you want your audience to do after seeing your ad? Be really clear on making sure that call to action is something that will help them, that solves a problem for them, and that they will take action and want to do. Be consistent, which we talked about. And again, measure, analyze, and adjust. You're not going to necessarily hit it out of the ballpark on the very first ad. It is a matter of just continuously testing. Now, how much should you be spending? What is your return on investment? That's going to be really important to understand. So I've seen different research statistics saying how much you should spend. A good ballpark to start testing is about $5 a day. Now you can gear that towards Monday through Friday, or how many days a week. The more you spend, the higher your results, of course. But if you're just getting started, test it out. Test a small campaign. See how it interacts. See how people engage with it. Are you getting everything you need from that? Now, your return on investment. Here's some stats I got. So, Facebook and Instagram, it's usually about $2 to $5 return for every dollar you spend. So that's a pretty good return on investment. Now, LinkedIn, I couldn't find actual return numbers. One resource said that you really have to be dedicated to the LinkedIn ads, to 2,000 or 3,000 spend, and do that every week or every month for about 3 to 4 months. Then you start seeing your ROI. I saw another resource that said 1,000 to 2,000 a month, but I just could not find what the return on investment is. A little bit different from on LinkedIn versus Facebook and Meta. It's almost like LinkedIn's feed is similar to what Meta's or what Facebook used to be, where it's not necessarily determining and showing. If you're posting there, it's showing up in people's feed. Now, it doesn't mean people are interacting or engaging with it or necessarily seeing it, but it is actually appearing in people's feed without saying, okay, we're going to send it to 5% and as people interact, we'll send it to another 5%, which is what Facebook basically does. And so with LinkedIn, it's still kind of an old school, everything just kind of appears. You're still competing though with all the other clutter, but you're at least there. So I'm interested in knowing, and if anyone knows that information, please feel free to share it with me on what they've seen as far as a return on investment on LinkedIn ads. X, the average return is $2.70 for every dollar spent. Pinterest says that they are 2.3% X times lower cost per conversion than other platforms, but I didn't get what the actual return on for dollars are. I know from our own advertising, we've advertised on Pinterest in the past, and we have seen a pretty good return as far as sending people to, our lead magnets or our content. It's something that we really do need to test again, but haven't actually done that. YouTube, I could not actually find the return on investment, but of the marketers who were surveyed spending ads, 75% were very happy with the returns. So that was good because I did see research on some of the other platforms where it was more like 50 to 60% of those paying for ads felt like the ads were effective and had a good return. And then TikTok is about $2 for every dollar you spend. So it'll be interesting since TikTok is one of the newer platforms, how that kind of evolves. Now, right now, here in the United States, there is a ban, sort of, kind of. We don't know where it's going to go, but eventually, hopefully, that'll work itself out. Now, let's bring it all together. What does your social media strategy look like? You really do want to do a mix between organic and paid. The paid, again, is really good at trying to reach more people, bring them into your universe. And the organic is better for building that relationship and engaging, building trust and credibility. So you want to make sure that you're doing both. You want to continue your organic while you're doing paid. So it's kind of not double dipping, but you're kind of helping that through. Companies that do use both organic and paid actually grow at a 30% faster than companies that don't or brands that don't. And that's according to HubSpot in 2024. So it's a reliable stat there. And you want to make sure that using your paid dollars on the content that is doing well. So one little hint that you can do is you've put maybe some organic content out there. You've noticed that this one particular ad content is really doing well over others. Then you may want to use that and either boost it or add it into a campaign. Now, the difference between boosting a post and actually having an ad campaign, they're actually distinctly different. Boosting is just where you add some money and they're just going to take that campaign or that content post and just kind of reboost it to more people, where an ad campaign is truly an ad campaign where you go and find and target your audience, target the message, build out ads and so forth. There's a difference. If you have limited dollars, go the advertising route. I have not had much luck with boosting existing content. But for content that has done well organically, you can reuse that. Now, if you're seeing an organic content that is not doing well, maybe you have a click-through rate of less than 1%. I would not spend money on that. I would keep testing and try to find the content that really does resonate with your audience. Now, you want to test all your call to actions. And when you're testing, you want to test one thing at a time. And so As I mentioned earlier, that Facebook and Instagram have like a tool that you can put like 6 different ads up there and they'll test them. You want to only change like one thing on each ad so that you can test and see. Maybe it's a different headline. We'll test that for a little bit. Next, once we determine which headline seems to be pulling better, then now let's test the call to action. And so be really mindful of what you're testing. Don't test 2 ads completely different. You're not going to find out what's working and what's not working. Start small too with your paid. Don't just go jumping in full force. Test it. Focus on just kind of your warm audience first and then open that up. You'll have a higher conversion with the people that you already have relationships with, but start small, test it. Let's see, we talked about testing your content. Align your strategy with your sales funnel or your marketing funnel. That is really important because that's really going to support your business and your business objectives. Okay, so we talked about a lot today. I gave you a lot of content. So we really dealt into the organic, what some of the challenges are with organic, why organic is still really good and important for your overall social marketing strategy. And then we focused more on the paid and what that looks like, what the return. I highly recommend that you do a combination of both. You want to continue putting that organic content out there, being consistent with it, building that brand that way. But you can also use paid and you can get in for a relatively low cost and try to kind of boost your reach and find more people to kind of bring into your universe. Now, I want to invite you next week. We're going to be talking about how AI will reshape marketing strategies and drive growth. So that's February 11th. That is Tuesday at 1 o'clock Mountain Time. And I'll answer any questions you might have. But I want to tell you that we are offering a free marketing assessment. We also have our marketing momentum workshop. That's a 4-hour brand and marketing strategy session that you can also purchase. Let me see if I can talk. Both of those are available on our website at behindthedesignco.com. So behindthedesignco.com. We will add it into our description as well. I know on YouTube we can do that after the fact. So you'll have those links. On that brand strategy, that's a 4-hour. We work together with you on identifying who that target audience is, how you're going to reach them, what your brand messaging is going to look like, and really help you kind of build a groundwork of where you are as a business. I see a lot of companies coming to us and they haven't done that basic strategy, that branding to know exactly where they're at. And so what happens when they don't have that groundwork done is they're kind of all over the place and they change and they decide to do this or they decide to do that. And there's no real strategy behind it. Don't be a spaghetti thrower. You really need to build that strategy. So connect with me. I offer a free marketing assessment. That's a 30-minute call. We'll get on a call on a Zoom and we'll talk about your marketing efforts and I'll give you some tips and solutions. I hope you found this helpful. I know we went over a little bit on our half hour. I try to keep this kind of short, but if you missed it, and you can also replay it. So thanks. I really appreciate you hanging out with me today.